Hello everyone, Tina here. I hope your day's going wonderful. Thank you so much for joining me. Well, today we're creating 10 cards with the Spellbinders Card Kit of the month for August 2020. This month's kit's called Around the World. If you missed the unboxing, I'll link it up above here and at the end. During the unboxing is where I created my little globe here. So if you are interested in how I created the globe using the dies in this month's kit, check that video out because it's a little bit slower paced. Kind of got to squeeze a lot in my 10 card video, so that's why I create my little project. Now when I did create it, I actually created it kind of wrong. So I fixed it, and so that's what I was showing you here. Okay, I have a panel that measures 3.5 inches by 4 3/4. It's that blue pattern paper that I already adhered to my card base. Next, I'm taking a 2-inch strip of the yellow pattern paper and fishtailing the end, and we're going to put this straight down the center. For card number 1, we're going to, of course, use the die cut, the globe, and then we're also going to use a die cut from the pack that came with the kit. There's 2 of all of them, and I chose a sentiment that says Journey. I think it's going to go perfect on the base of my globe here. I'm going to lightly tack it down so it's the globe and the sentiment in one piece, and then we're going to add tape behind our fishtail banner, add this to the center of our card base, and then we can pop up both of these at one time. Just remove the release paper and place that in the center. For finishing touches on this, I'm not going to do much, just going to bring in my Journey Glaze. If you're new to my channel, Journey Glaze is like a glossy accents. It's from Fun Stamper's Journey. It's a little bit thinner than glossy accents, and it goes on kind of cloudy but dries clear. And I think it's going to work out great for that little airplane on there. And that finishes card number 1. And again, if you want to check out how I created the globe, I'll link that video of the unboxing at the end here. Just click on that top video. Okay, for card number 2, I have a strip of paper, and I wanted to use the number strip on the very bottom. Now the number strip, there's 2 of them, 2 different size number strips. I'm going to leave them intact. I kind of like the way this looks. You can set, and then there's a sentiment right on top. I'm going to leave it all together, and I decided since it is larger, I'm going to bring in my Misty. So I just put a panel that measures a card front size, which is 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. Put it inside my Misty and stamped with my black licorice ink the sentiment and both of the number strips. Kind of looks really neat, and I like the way this turned out. I like adding stamp detail to my cards, and I think we're going to add the larger number. So we're going to bring in our paper trimmer and just trim down the small numbers, the larger numbers, and then the sentiment. For card number 2, we're just going to again use the larger sentiment, so it ends up being about a 1/2 inch strip. Now while I was trimming that, I decided to go ahead and create a background panel using this die set from Spellbinders, the Spellbinders Essential Rectangles. It creates a dotted detail background. I love these. So I just used the dotted detail and then cut out the white cardstock that measures 4 by 5 1/4 inches. The pattern paper measures 3 1/4 inches by 4 1/2 inches, and I adhered that on the inside, just on the inside of the dots on here, just to create a little dotted detail on my background panel. We're going to go ahead and adhere this to our card bases. Now all of my 10 cards are created using the pre-scored and folded card bases that are in the kit, so that makes everything nice. Now I'm going to use the Eiffel Tower that was in the die cut pack, and then I also die cut out a 2-inch circle with the yellow pattern paper. I decided we need to bring in a little bit more gold. There's a little bit of gold on the Eiffel Tower, so I just cut a thin strip of the gold cardstock that we get and adhered it right above my number strip. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and attach my Eiffel Tower to my circle, leaving a little bit of room because we're going to add some chipboard stickers to that. We're going to pop this up all together and then place it a little bit more to the left of our card base here. There's going to be a little overhanging, so I'm going to use my scissors and trim that off, and I think it looks great. Next we're going to bring in our chipboard stickers. Now I thought we would use the taxi, I have actually rode in a taxi one time, just once, and that's what this little taxi reminded me of. I also adhered overseas and vacay that were in the chipboard pack, but my taxi experience was pretty fun. I think we were teenagers, and me and my girlfriends were at the college, and we thought we'll take a taxi to the mall. And so it was three of us. Two of them got in the back, and then I popped into the front, and then the taxi driver kind of looked at me crazy and said, "No, you need to get in the back." So that was my little taxi experience. But we decided that it was a little expensive and decided the bus probably would have been easier to take. Okay, that was card number 2. Now we're going to move along to card number 3. It's pretty easy. I have a panel here that measures 4 inches by 5 1/4. What we're going to do is take that panel and I'm going to emboss it using a Foot and Stamper's Journey Pretty Plaid embossing folder. Once this is embossed, we're going to add just a little bit of highlight in our background. If you guys are looking for a nice plaid embossing folder, this is a great one here. We're just going to add our panel and then run it through our die cut machine, and then we have some texture for our background for this card. We're going to go ahead and adhere this panel to our card base, and just using the tape runner. Now this card kit, all Spellbinders card kits come with a roll of double-sided tape, and then it also comes with foam adhesive. I like to bring in my own because I use a lot of it and it just goes by quicker if I use my glue and my own tape runner. But the tape in the kit works great. Okay, I have my blending tool that has tumbled glass on it. It still has ink on it. I'm not even going to bring out my ink pad, but I'm just highlighting the center area of my embossed background, just to add a little bit of something so it's just not white. Went ahead and added my Big Ben, my Eiffel Tower, and the Empire State Building, and then I found the little arrows that coordinated with each one of them. So my Empire State Building has New York, and then we're going to go ahead and pop up our London for our Big Ben. I'm going to add glue to one side and then add foam adhesive to the left side here, because that's the part that's going to overhang. And then I also have Paris for my Eiffel Tower, and we're just kind of overlapping each one of our buildings. And a little fun fact, I looked up apartment prices in New York, and did you know a 2-bedroom apartment in New York can run between $3,000 and $5,000 a month? That blew me away. I was like, wow, that is incredibly expensive. So that's a little fun fact. But that is my card number 3. So we're on to card number 4. For this card, we're going to make a butterfly card. I have a piece of this pattern paper. I actually trimmed it down to 3.5 inches by 4 1/4 inches wide. We're going to adhere this directly to our card base. I have a little bit overhanging, so I'll use my scissors and just trim that off. And then I also took these little fronds from our die cut pack. It's the color that matches the blue cardstock in the kit. So I cut a 1/2 inch strip of that blue cardstock, and we're going to place this over the seam. If we can get it straight, I'm just going to reposition it here. Sometimes I swear I think I have a crooked eye. Now I'm taking, there is 2 of each of these, so I'm taking the large and the small. I'm adding adhesive, foam adhesive on the very top, and then I did add a dot of glue on the very bottom. This way it's raised just a little bit. I'm kind of placing them a little bit at a diagonal angle, and then we're going to add some butterflies on the inside. In this month's card kit there were some beautiful holographic butterflies, and so I thought it'd be perfect to add some fluttering wings on this card. I'm taking basically the blues and the blue-greens, 3 of them, and we're going to just kind of line them up. I found it easier to use a craft pick to pick up these butterflies from the clear sheet, the clear backing sheet. It was just easier. We'll put the largest one in the middle, then we're going to take the little blue-green one here and place that towards the top. Kind of filling in that area, and that little holographic shine is so pretty. And this one goes in the bottom. Now for my sentiment, we're going to bring in we're going to adjust this just a little bit, but we're going to bring in a sentiment from the chipboard sticker pack. This one says "Weekend Away," and we're going to just add this right next to that bluish green colored butterfly on the very top, making sure this is straight. And then that finishes off card number 4, guys. It'll be a nice little just because card. Okay, card number 5. I also made this die cut during the unboxing. We're going to use this. Now I took off the stand, and then you can see I took off the sailboat. I just wanted the blues and that gold to kind of go with my tropical drinks here. I'm going to go ahead and take a piece of the pattern paper that I trimmed down to 2.5 inches by 5.5 inches. Place that a little bit towards the right, and then again I took a very thin strip of the gold cardstock. We're going to add a thin line of glue directly to our card base here. Add our gold, kind of bringing out the gold in our little die cut arrangement we made. Lovely. We're going to flip this one over, and I'm going to go ahead and add foam adhesive behind our little tropical background. And then I'm also going to pop up my sentiment. This is Relax. This was part of the die cut pack, and I just stuck that right below our little tropical scene. Next, we're going to use a couple of the foo-foo drinks here. We're going to add them right next to each other over that little circle just above the Relax. And then it's been a very long since I've had a foo-foo. We used to call them foo-foo drinks. But my go-to foo-foo drink is a pina colada. So that's what this reminded me of. Okay, we're going to go ahead and add a few of the sequins that came with this month's kit. We're going to do a little tucking here. And then, last but not least, I am going to add a little bit of my Journey glaze over both of my drinks. Just shining them up a bit. And then that finishes off card number 5. Okay, card number 6, we get to do some stamping. I was super excited about this key. So there's a base piece. I picked that up with my acrylic block, and then I'm going to color this in with an ink pad. I'm using the Haystack ink pad from Fun Stamper's Journey, and I'm going to stamp this. I think I should have used my Misty and stamped a few times to get a full coverage, but I think it worked out okay. We're going to stamp it. We only need 2 keys, but we're going to stamp it 3 times. The color does even out a little bit. You can see it's a little blotchy, but the ink does even out a bit. Okay, so once we have our base done, we are going to go ahead and take the top. It's like a layering stamp. I'm going to take the top piece, and we're going to ink that up with some black licorice. I'm going to take that inside piece too. The inside piece says, drop in any mailbox. We guarantee postage. That's cute. I'm going to go ahead and stamp this right over the top. It lines up super duper easy to do. This would be really nice in a rainbow set of keys, guys. And I'm going to do the third one just because I liked to line it up. Okay, now after we have this done, we're going to stamp our key. There's a solid image of a key, and I thought we would do some heat embossing with some gold embossing powder. So I'm going to treat my paper up on the left and right with my anti-static powder tool. We're going to get a smaller acrylic block. We're just going to go over those corners, and then I'm also going to bring in a different ink pad. I'm not going to use my black licorice. I'm going to use my VersaFine Onyx black ink. It's going to stay sticky, and then I can go over it with my gold embossing powder. So we'll ink it up and stamp this twice. There is, when you stamp this, there's a little line that goes through the hole of the key. That's where I cut, because eventually I'm going to fussy cut these out, but that's where I cut to attach my keys to my key ring here. We're going to add gold embossing powder, and then I did use my heat gun and melted it so it's nice and shiny, and we have some fun keys. There's also lots of little accent pieces you can add to the inside of the keys. There's airplanes, there's sunshines, there's hearts, so it's super fun. I'm going to go ahead and take the key, the ring part of it, ink that up with my black licorice ink. Now I found the best way to do this is line up the opened end on the right of the circle, stamp that on the inside of your yellow key ring there, and then have that other open end hit the outside of your yellow image, and it looks just like it's a key ring. Super neat. You'll see in the close-ups too. But I'm going to go ahead, take my scissors. We're going to separate. It's easier for me to fussy cut when each of my images are separated, but we're just going to separate each of these. I am going to leave a little bit of a white border around each one, and then I did attach them. Again, I'll take that key trim, cut it at that diagonal line. You'll see it with your stamp, and then I just tucked it over the circle of the ring, and they look like keys beautifully. Okay, let's make a card. We're going to take a, let's see, this is a 1 3/4 inch strip of the yellow cardstock. I adhered it to a panel. Now the panel size is 4 inches by 4 3/4 inches tall. Okay, it's kind of odd size. I should have lowered it a little bit, but I just wanted something a bit different. I went over the seam with some gold cardstock, and then for my sentiment, I am going to separate it. This piece here with the numbers, I'm keeping the numbers intact, but I am going to separate the sentiment because I loved the sentiment on here. It says, good friends are the key to happiness, and I wanted to use both of these. So I just separated them like you're supposed to, and then before we stamp it, I'm going to position my keys so I know where to stamp the sentiment. But I'm kind of going to crisscross them a bit, and then we'll ink up our sentiment. The first part says good friends are. We'll ink that up with our black ink here, and then I'm going to offset it to the right a little bit and stamp our second part of the sentiment, which says the key to happiness. And it's in a scripty font too, so I think it looks cute with this. To soften it, I used a couple of the yellow die cut flowers that came in the die cut pack, just to make it more friendship than hotel key. But I'm going to add one more flower here, and I think this is going to look perfect. We're going to flip this panel over. I am going to add it to my card base, and it's going to leave me about a 1/2 inch area, a little less than 1/2 inch area on the top and bottom. But I love the bright and cheery yellow colors of this. And that finishes card number 6. Super fun creating with this. I think the sky's the limit with those little keys. Okay, card number 7, we are going to make a New York cityscape. So for our background, I'm using this pattern paper with the squares on it. I trimmed that down to a panel that's 3 1/4 inches by 4 1/2. So it's going to leave me about a 1/2 inch around my card base. I went ahead and attached that. Now to create my cityscape, I have a piece of white cardstock. It's just scratch paper, and I'm going to go ahead and add 2, actually 4 of my tall buildings here. I'm going to line them up, and I think my scratch paper is a little too tall. I didn't want this showing. I just kind of wanted to use this so I can end up popping up the entire piece later on. But I added 3. I'm going to take away my pink one. That one's going to go popped up with foam adhesive. And then I'm going to add some adhesive behind this building. Trim it off on the right here so it's a little smaller. And then I'm going to go ahead and add this tall building here. And then I'm going to put the Empire State Building right in the middle, and then my pink skinny buildings we're going to pop up with foam adhesive. So these last 3 ones will add foam adhesive too, just for a little added dimension. And I'm placing the cityscape kind of wonky in my background, so they're not all the same height. Just make sure it's centered. Now once we have all of our buildings adhered, we adhered them to that scratch paper, so all we have to do is flip it around, and I can add even more dimension by adding foam squares behind this entire panel. We'll just add 4 or 5 here. I've never been to New York City. My husband has, but I haven't. I think it'd be quite a sight to see. That and Niagara Falls. My wheels were turning when I was playing with this kit. I thought, oh, I would like to go there. But it takes time and I suppose some money. Okay, we are going to add this to the center of our panel here. Lovely. And eventually I do straighten out that Empire State Building. But I think that looks fabulous. We're going to bring in our chipboard stickers. Since this is New York, I thought we would bring in our little eye covering here. And it says travel now, sleep later, since New York's a city that doesn't sleep, right? We're going to add that, and then we're going to add the Bon Voyage right below it, along with that little black heart we just added here. And we're not going to add anything else because the gold is really standing out with those buildings in the background, and I think that's a really super fun card. That's card number 7, guys. Okay, card number 8 is probably the easiest of the bunch, but it sure turned out clean and pretty. I trimmed down a 1/2 inch strip of this pattern paper. We're going to use our tape runner and adhere it to the lower portion of our card base. You can trim off the excess, but sometimes I just like to wrap it around the inside, just for a little something on the inside. And then I am going to bring in my tumbled glass ink blending tool again. We're going to add a little bit of shading to the background panel here, just so it's just not white. Sometimes just the white background is boring. So let's bring that in, do a little shading, kind of intensifying the color in the center and kind of blending out. And there's so much ink on this blending tool that I didn't have to add any more to this one either. Okay, we're going to add both the bicycles. There's 2 different bicycles, and again you get 2 of each, but we're going to use just one for the card here, 1 of each. We're going to layer them on top of each other, and I think I have my pattern paper a little bit too high because I couldn't space my bikes the way I wanted them to, so I'm going to remove it. And I found the easiest way for me to remove it was just to trim it off, leaving that strip on the inside. And then I'm just going to reattach it just till it's about 1/2 inch up from the bottom of the card base. Lovely. For my sentiment for this card, we're going to use another one of the die cut pieces, but this one says Adventure Time. We're going to trim off, I have a little bit overhanging here, and I think it's much better lowering that. We'll add our sentiment, and then I'm going to lower my bottom bike here, and then I think this would be a nice little note card for just becauses. But that's card number 8. Pretty simple, but I like the soft colors of this. Okay, we're going to move along to card number 9. We're going to make a collage card. So I have this strip of pink pattern paper. It measures 1.5 inches tall by 4.25 inches wide. We adhere that to the bottom, and then I'm going to take another piece of this stripe paper and add that at the seam just above it. The excess you can wrap around, but I'm going to trim this one off, and you can see I did leave about 1/4 inch off from the bottom area. Now I have lots of die cut pieces that say vacation. We're going to take the radio, and we're also going to take a chipboard sticker for our sentiment. This is Explorer, and I think we're going to put it over the seam here. I think it's going to work out best. Tack that down, pop up our little radio, and then I did pop up my books too. Kind of placed it wonky over the bottom of the radio on the right side. And then we're going to add our glasses as well. And then we also have our little pink camera. Kind of found colors that coordinated, so all these work together. I'm just going to add a little glue behind my little camera and tuck that right behind the glasses. And that's our little collage card. Now I went ahead and added sequins to our card, and then last there was a little heart in the stamp set. I thought we would do some stamping with that, so I'm going to use my rustic rose. And I think this maybe went, I didn't need to do this, but that little heart was so cute. I wanted to use it, but probably made it a little super busy, but it just got lots of love, that's all. But that finishes off this card, card number 9, guys. Okay, Oh, no, I am going to go over my eyeglasses. I got to go over my eyeglasses with my Journey Glaze here. And I also went over the radio handle there. But that finishes off my busy collage card. Okay, for my final card today, I have a leftover piece of this pattern paper. This actually measures 2 3/4 inches by 5.5 inches. I'm going to adhere this straight down the middle of my card base. And then I went ahead and popped up each one of these little flags that have, well, the top one here has arrivals, Tokyo and Milan. The bottom right ones have Paris and departures. Love the colors of these, so I'm trying to find colors that coordinated. And I also popped up my airplane along with my boarding pass, my flight ticket, and then also my passport. We added that as well. I just kind of placed it a little wonky. And I think the gold in this was enough. I didn't need to add too much more. But that finishes off card number 10, guys. So here's a look at all 10 cards that I had made with the Spellbinders Card Kit of the month called Around the World. This is the August kit. Super fun and makes you want to travel. Boy, does it ever. So I'm going to put that in my wish list on places that I'd love to go. But thank you so much for joining me, guys. If you want to see still shots, I'll leave the link to the coordinating blog post down below for you. That way you can see individual still shots. Sometimes the still shots take extra time, and so I just put them on my blog for you guys. But if you're interested in the Spellbinders Card Kit of the month, I'll leave the link down below. It's a fabulous kit that's fully loaded. If you want to see the contents of it and you missed it, of course the unboxing is at the end here. But I love playing with the Spellbinders Card Kits because there's always so much fun stuff. Thank you so much for joining me, guys. I hope this inspires you, gives you some ideas on how to use the kit. But have a great day. I can't believe it's August, but have a wonderful crafty day. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.